There's a lot of Attaboys to get to this week after a 24-21 win for the Longhorns over Iowa State. Let's start with running backs Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. Texas Longhorns are in the midst of a season that might just see them climb the Big 12 mountaintop after the destruction of Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. Quinn Ewers has arrived. Arch Manning is on the way. There's no better place to follow the future than on orangebloods.com and the Orange Bloods Texas football channel on YouTube. I'm not sure that I've ever seen Robinson play better in his 2.5 seasons at Texas. The numbers didn't just jump off the stat sheet, but I thought he was sensational. His ability to make something out of nothing is made to look easy, but nothing that he did on the field against the Cyclones on Saturday was easy. Against the best defense in the Big 12, he made run after run that left the Cyclone defense grasping at straws. And when a play was needed in the passing game, yep, he provided that too. It was a reminder that we're really watching something special with Robinson. I wrote about this on orangebloods.com, but when this season is over, we might very well be talking about Bijan Robinson in the same breath as Ricky Williams, Earl Campbell, and Cedric Benson. At the pace he's currently at, he's trying to track down Jamal Charles for the number 4 rushing total all time in a career for a Texas player. Again, we're watching something truly special with Robinson. As for Johnson, he set the tone early on with one of the best special teams tackles of the season on kickoff coverage. I mean, he just absolutely sledgehammered that guy. Then he came in during the fourth quarter and along with Robinson helped the Longhorns close out the game with a game-winning touchdown drive. Says everything you need to know about a player that is truly the heartbeat of this team. Another guy I want to single out, Jordan Whittington. All season long, he's made play after play, whether it's in the receiving game or as a blocker. And on Saturday, he finally got into the end zone for his first touchdown in 7 games this season. Yeah, that's worth an attaboy. I felt really good for Whittington. It's easy to forget that when he came into this season, most people just assumed that at some point he would get hurt. Yet we're getting a real look at just what his talent and perseverance can do when he plays in a 12-game season, and it's helped make this Texas receiving game one of the best in the Big 12. His presence on the field and the importance of it cannot be stressed enough. Another attaboy that has to be given out is one to Xavier Worthy. It's easy to take the X-Man for granted when you consider the season that he had a year ago, but against the Cyclones on Saturday, he had his most receptions in any game this season with 8 and scored 2 touchdowns for the second time in 3 weeks. It took a little while for Xavier to heat up, right? When you look at the first few games of the season, he wasn't getting into the end zone. He hadn't broken 100 yards. He hadn't had more than 5 receptions in any game. Yet over the course of the last 3 weeks, he's averaging 6 catches per game, and he's had 5 touchdowns in wins over West Virginia, Oklahoma, and Iowa State. You're damn right. Attaboys, eh? 2 more attaboys got to go to offensive tackles Kelvin Banks and Christian Jones. The Cyclones have received stellar play from its ends and edge players all season long, but in this game, both of the Texas tackles just stonewalled them for the entire 60 minutes. It's time we start talking about both players as legit all Big 12 players after Saturday's performance. It's easy to single out Banks because he plays left tackle. He arrived with 5-star status, and everybody's had their eyeballs on him all season long, both in an effort to prove some of the naysayers wrong, but he's also like this brand new toy that Texas fans have that they know they've got for the next 3 seasons, and every time he plays well, it just makes Texas fans feel good to have that guy on their team. Yet I don't think we should be discounting the importance of Jones while we build up and celebrate the play of Banks. Since moving over from left tackle to right tackle this season, he's been consistently one of the best offensive linemen in the Big 12. He's been terrific in the run game. He's been sensational as a pass blocker. He's not making mistakes. I'm telling you right now, those 2 players, they're the best 2 tackles that any team in the Big 12 has right now. And when was the last time that you could say that about an offensive line at the University of Texas? You might have to go back all the way to 2006 when Tony Hills and Justin Blaylock were holding it down in Colt McCoy's first season. It's a long time ago. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball, where the very first attaboy that I want to give out is to senior defensive lineman Moro Ajomo. It's been kind of a quiet season for Ajomo. There's been a lot of players on that Texas defensive line that have consistently drawn praise, whether it's Keandre Coburn, who has been one of the best defensive tackles in the Big 12 this season, Tavondre Sweat, another guy that you could say has been one of the best interior players in the Big 12 this season. Barron Sorrell has been a guy that has led this team in sacks so far this season, and there have been moments when he looks like the best player on that Texas defensive line. And yet it was Ajomo on Saturday that I thought was the absolute difference maker for this Texas team on the defensive side of the ball. He had the team's only sack of the entire day on Saturday, and he also had a huge tackle for loss in the second half of that game in the red zone. It was Ajomo making big plays, difference-making plays, that earns the only attaboy from me this week for the members of the Texas defensive line, a group that played pretty well, but there was one standout in my eyes from that game on Saturday, and it was Ajomo. Moving to the linebacker position, Jalen Ford had one of the biggest plays of the season on Saturday. He's been so good for most of the season since that Louisiana Monroe game where he made 0 tackles. In fact, it's not hyperbole to say that Ford has been the best linebacker in the Big 12 this season. One of the things that had been missing from his resume were the big plays, the forced turnovers, interceptions, forced fumbles, recovered fumbles, sacks. He's made all of the big little plays, but on Saturday, he made one of the biggest plays of the season with his interception in the end zone. The Longhorns were down 7-0. It could have easily have been 14-0. And Ford made one of the plays that I've been calling for this season from him. Make a game-changing play, and he did exactly that. You cannot underscore or understate the importance of that interception on Saturday. It was an absolute game changer. You can absolutely question whether or not the Longhorns would have won that game without that play. He made it. It, I think, is the standout moment of this entire season for Ford. And for that, absolutely give that man an attaboy. The final attaboy of this week goes to defensive back Anthony Cook. That's right, the man who had the game-clinching forced fumble with one of the biggest blow-up hits on a quarterback this season that hasn't drawn a targeting call. It was such a good hit. It was such a powerful hit into the shoulder area. It's the kind of play that was so perfectly executed that it should be on teaching tapes moving forward. That's how you hit an opposing offensive player in 2022 without drawing a flag. You put all of the force in your body into the shoulder area of the offensive player. You don't hit the helmet. You're not committing a targeting foul, but you are hitting a guy so hard that you're able to separate the ball from his body. And on a defense that ranks among the worst 100 teams in the country at forcing turnovers, Cook was able to force a fumble that literally changed the outcome of the game on Saturday. If Iowa State is able to punch the ball into the end zone late in the fourth quarter without Cook's forced fumble, it remains to be seen how the Longhorns would have responded. Maybe they respond with their own touchdown. Maybe they don't. Cook's huge play, the biggest defensive play of the season to date, and I say that with apologies to Jalen Ford, whose interception in the first quarter probably would have been the play that would be the biggest that the defense has made all season long until Cook bettered it just a couple of quarters later. It's a huge moment. It was a defining moment of this game. And for a senior like Cook, who came back to Texas this season to change positions, to play safety instead of in the nickel, so that he could have more reps, more exposure, more film to show NFL scouts that he deserves to not only play at that next level, but to be drafted at a high level to go in and make that play, that, young man, is why you came back. That play is why you are one of the best defensive backs in the Big 12. And that play is why you get the final attaboy from me today. Well done, young man. Well done indeed.